The night was the eve of the fall of the Republic. Years of meticulous planning set forth and established by the Sith Darth Bane thousands of years before, now on the verge of being fully realized. Rumors had circulated amongst a few Jedi that a Sith Lord had in fact taken control of the Republic, gaining power as the Supreme Chancellor until the very Senate that the Jedi served was under his complete control. The Jedi Master Mace Windu had assembled a strike team of some of the best sword masters of the Order to arrest the Sith. However, the Sith would not go quietly, and after just mere moments of having their sabers ignited, Windu would be the only survivor facing down the Dark Lord, relying on his mastery of Vapad to push the Sith back, managing to disarm the Sith Lord eventually. However, before the final blow could be dealt, the Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker had entered the Chancellor's office, interrupting the duel, severing Windu's hand, which ultimately gave the upper hand back to Palpatine, who unleashed the full power of the dark side into Windu, sending the Jedi Master tumbling down to the Coruscant streets. Anakin, now the newly christened Darth Vader, moved quickly to remove the opposing Jedi Order, which was the only thing standing in the way of the Sith's conquest of the galaxy. By order of Sidious, the young Darth Vader had descended upon the Jedi Temple with the backing of the 501st Legion by his side, and the driving force, the very reason why he had chosen this path close to his heart. However, the darkness was ever the more present, clouding even the noblest of reasons, twisting them to serve that very darkness. For this vault recording, we find ourselves traveling back to the night of Operation Nightfall, the very night that the prophecy of the Chosen One was effectively turned against the Jedi, and explored the growing power within Darth Vader during these events, the same power that allowed him to run rampant in the halls of the Jedi Temple. For this vault, we will be exploring Darth Vader's power augmented by the dark side, unfiltered by the cybernetics that would have cut down his potential in the Force significantly. However, we must first observe Anakin's journey as a Knight of the Order and his experiences throughout the Clone Wars that would mold him into the unstoppable force that he eventually became in Darth Vader. Anakin Skywalker was a Jedi bred for war, despite the Jedi's role as peacekeepers. The start of the Clone Wars had shoehorned every Jedi Knight and Master of the Order into military service in order to keep the peace within the numerous star systems found in the Galactic Republic. While the Jedi's power began to weaken due to the increasing influence of the dark side and conflicts across the galaxy, Anakin's power in the Force only continued to grow as the time passed. Battle after battle, one conflict after another, and by the time the Clone Wars had reached its apex, Skywalker's power had grown exponentially. According to the records of the novelization for Revenge of the Sith and a conversation that had taken place between Mace Windu and Obi-Wan Kenobi, in which the two discuss Anakin's relationship with Chancellor Palpatine and a deeper reason revealed by Mace as to why Anakin was denied the rank of Master and how he was to be kept from the Council entirely, at least for that time being. The reason for this being is entirely connected to Anakin's relationship with Palpatine, as his vicious grab for more power within the Senate became more apparent, which greatly concerned Windu. Mace had stated the following: Skywalker is arguably the most powerful Jedi alive, and he is still getting stronger, but he is not stable, and you know it. We all do. It is why he cannot be given mastership. We must keep him off the Council despite his extraordinary gifts. As the records reveal, Mace's distrust in Anakin lied with Skywalker's impulsive nature. Despite the great power he wielded, he lacked the emotional maturity to wield it properly, and Palpatine's influence over Anakin only empowered Windu's concerns. Throughout the course of the war, Anakin and the 501st Legion were the most active body in the Grand Army of the Republic, perhaps followed by Obi-Wan Kenobi and the 212th as the second most active general. Each battle served to increase Anakin's strength in the Force and prowess on the battlefield. Anakin was also one of the few Jedi to actively engage another Sith Lord and other lightsaber wielders regularly. As the Jedi Order numbered in the thousands by the start of the war, with only a few dark-side wielders including the Sith Lord Count Dooku, the Sith assassin Asajj Ventress, and the acolyte Savage Opress, Anakin was among the few Jedi to lock blades with all of these darksiders in recent memory, as members of the Jedi Order who found themselves transformed into military leaders had not even engaged in blade-to-blade combat following their own Jedi training, as the Order of the Sith had been supposedly extinct for over a millennia by this point. Because of this, Anakin Skywalker was one of the few Jedi to grow their prowess in lightsaber combat, engaging the Sith Lord Darth Tyrannus regularly throughout the course of the Clone Wars, improving with each encounter until he was able to finally topple the old Darksider aboard the Invisible Hand during the Battle of Coruscant. By the initial stages of the Great Jedi Purge, Anakin Skywalker had the necessary skills to carry out the Sith's plan in Operation Nightfall. Fueled by his desire to save the love of his life from certain death, and with the influence of Sidious now hanging over him, Darth Vader was ready to carry out the will of his new Sith Master. The Jedi Temple, still unaware of the events that had transpired in the Chancellor's office, which allowed Anakin and the 501st to waltz right in through the temple gates. However, before they had fully entered the halls of the temple, Anakin and the clones would be met by the Jedi Temple's gatekeeper, a Jedi by the name of Jaruk. The Jedi frantically asked Skywalker what had happened, as he could feel the drastic shift in the Force. Jaruk was one of 2 Jedi tasked by Windu himself with the temple's defenses. However, he would not be prepared to be met by Anakin and the thousands of clones from the 501st Legion right outside the temple's doorstep. Skywalker had used the Master's confusion against him, igniting his lightsaber through the Jedi skull, which allowed Anakin and the 501st to quietly enter the temple, positioning themselves for an ambush, with Jaruk the temple gatekeeper becoming the first victim of Operation Nightfall. Dozens of clones had stormed the Temple of the Jedi Order and proceeded to gun down on sight any Jedi unfortunate enough to come into their crosshairs. The newly christened Sith Lord had only begun to indulge in the true power of the dark side, augmenting his own. The power of the Chosen One had reached newer heights while being bathed within the sinister embrace of the dark side. The darkness had bolstered Anakin's core Force powers greatly, with the weight of every Force pull and push being felt 100 times over by the Jedi he engaged that night. Though not confirmed and only made evident to us from the records of the PS2 Star Wars Revenge of the Sith video game, Vader at the height of his power during Operation Nightfall would have carried the potential to produce Force lightning from his remaining left hand. The amount of hate that Anakin had towards the Jedi by this point, and the increasing influence of the dark side spreading across the galaxy, with the revelation of Sidious shrouding everything including Anakin himself, this in itself was enough for Skywalker to draw on that hate that fueled this Force ability. As Vader's power grew in the dark side of the Force, Anakin's skill with the lightsaber became even more ferocious during the night of the temple attack. Anakin Skywalker had utilized the Form 5 of lightsaber combat known as the Gem So, which relied on heavy strikes and offensive maneuvers to keep one's opponent on the back foot for much of the duel. However, the Gem So form lacked in footwork, and it was a weakness that Anakin himself had improved upon by implementing the footwork from the 4th lightsaber form known as Ataru, which relied on heavy footwork and Force acrobatics to keep their opponent guessing. Ataru's footwork mixed in with the aggressive style of the Gem So had made Anakin into a near unstoppable force of nature with the blade. Each saber strike that Anakin dealt, he did so carrying the weight of a starship behind every blow, which destroyed his opponent's defenses, breaking any offensive opportunity they had until they could no longer fight back. This is made evident to us while observing Anakin's final duel with Count Dooku, in which Anakin briefly draws on the dark side, driving the aging Sith Lord back, with him even stating that he used the Force to shield himself from Anakin's strikes, but to no avail, as Skywalker dismantled the defenses of the Count until he was exhausted and staggered enough to lose his focus, which allowed Anakin the opening to finally disarm Dooku. This aggressive nature behind Skywalker's fighting style would grow in its savagery during the temple raid, as dozens of Jedi could not withstand the might of Lord Vader, to which even the likes of the Jedi Order's Battlemaster and lightsaber instructor Sin Dralik, who fought with everything that he had against the young Sith, and still met his end at Skywalker's saber. Sarah Keto, Sin Dralik's current apprentice at the time, had also engaged Vader in a vicious lightsaber duel the night the temple fell. Sarah was a practitioner of the Jar Kai form, which focused on dual blade combat. However, even with the extra blade, Vader still prevailed, though the outcome of this particular duel would not be finished by Anakin's lightsaber. Anakin Skywalker's experience throughout the course of the Clone Wars would mold him into the combatant that he ultimately became by Revenge of the Sith. His skills in the Force as well as the blade greatly increasing through the dark side's influence, which served as a form of cosmic steroids to Anakin's inherently powerful connection to the Force. As we reach the end of this Vault recording, thank you so much to those who continue to tune in and enjoy these Vault recordings, and to those who have just reached our Vaults, I welcome you to force push that subscribe button if you enjoy all of our lore content that we upload on the channel. Anakin's power level during the events of Revenge of the Sith and Operation Nightfall is something that I've been wanting to deeply explore for a while, as Anakin's shocking display of power during the events of Order 66 is something that one could both admire and fear, as we ask ourselves, how much more power could Skywalker have gained in the Force on top of the great power he already had? Be safe, my friends in the Force. Always look out for one another, and hopefully we will meet again during another recording of the Outer Rim Vault.